It's fine, but sometimes it's a bit on and off. You never know what's going to happen. But well, let's go ahead and you're mentioning about
Just hold. Sorry, one second. Well, go ahead. I'm going to call you back because when we actually connect properly, I'm just going to give a little 3-minute introduction to the situation and then hand over to you.
Sure.
Yeah. And I sent some messages. Do you mind if we talk a little bit also about James as well as the other children? Just that.
So, to be honest, I would like this to be short. For now, I mean, we can kind of maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour. I mean,
Sure.
And I would prefer to do it like to make like sort of regular rather than
definitely. Because people watch short. There's a different demographic that they will watch a 20-minute update once a week. Yes, definitely.
Right, look, and also would like to leave the subject with James like out for now. I would like to.
Okay.
I would like to kind of put my mind into if I want to talk and how I want to address this. I know I mentioned it in this interview, but it's not something
Yeah, I understand.
I'm not quite certain how to address it.
Sure, that's good. And would you like to do the outline of the situation, or would you like me to do an introduction first?
Introduction? No, you do introduction. But what would you like to say?
I'm just going to say I'm trying to reach different people that haven't heard so far. So I'm going to say something like, this is Ella Draper. She's a Russian mother of 3 children who's lived in England for some years and discovered to her horror last summer that the reason for her children's behaviour that was escalating and severe, just to outline, I'm just going to try and keep it brief and then say that on holiday she discovered this. As there were other children involved, she didn't feel to follow the mother's instinct to just get the children safe. She felt that there was more than just her children. So with her partner, she came back.
Angie, so sorry to interrupt you. It's not quite correct because, of course, I wanted to keep my children safe, and we were considering. In fact,
I meant you just didn't want to just exclusively keep your children safe.
No, in the beginning we were thinking to do that. And the situation was that it would be difficult for anyone to cope with children. Number one, because I was thinking to send them to Russia. Actually, I already even got the tickets, which the payment never gone through. So, and then there were different situations developed there while we were there. For example, they touched a 3 years old girl. So we realized it would be not such a good idea for anyone to look up to them and be responsible for certain action that children might commit. And also, based on we knew about what was going on with other children and their friends, and that's why we decided we ended up deciding to come back.
That's great.
To expose it to hopefully to save other children.
Okay, good. So then we're ready. So then I'm going to call you back, and we'll just go straight into recording.
One second. Abraham here, if he wants to mention something.
Even though Abraham warned, there was a possibility of taking the children and very difficult to get them back. The same, he still took them back even though.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't get that clearly. Say that again.
Hello, Angie?
Yeah, Abraham sounds very far away. I can't hear Abe.
Oh, right. So he's saying that he actually warned me that once if we're gonna go back, it might be very difficult to get them back, which we're experiencing this now.
But I think it's such a good point that you make that as in the state of chaos that the children were in, you couldn't just send them to Russia. You had to get a big solution. You couldn't just get a little solution. The children were acting out like.
I didn't hear almost anything you said. It just blanked out for.
Wow. No, the point I was just making was that I think it's very important what you shared, that the children were acting out so much that it was not just a solution to just send them somewhere, or you needed a bigger solution than just to take the children and run.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking to you now. It's just, I didn't know that information you just gave me, but like the point you made, that if you sent them, for instance, to your parents in Russia, it was not practical because they were acting out. They were, the fact that they molested another child, and so.
No, just that it's much more deeper than that. But we can maybe talk about this. There are more information than that, more details to the story. But perhaps we can address it in a different interview. I'm
going to let you lead. I'm going to give an introduction, and I'm going to hand over to you. And I'm not going to interrupt very much. I'm going to let you lead the interview. I just might ask one or two questions, like Alfred Weber is such a good interviewer. He hardly speaks.
Sorry, sir? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're concentrating on other children, the situation with other children. Yeah. And I just want you to breathe so you...
Yeah, but we're going to concentrate first, update on Gabriel and Lisa and your parents trying to see. If you can update us on your children first, and then talk about the other 18, and then that's enough for today.
All right, then. No problem. All right.
But first, anybody wants to know, first of all, Gabriel and Lisa.
Yeah. All right. Should we say in about 5 minutes, so I'll just go through the notes quickly, and also you can get prepared, yeah?
Yeah, perfect. I'll phone you in 5 minutes. Ciao.
Thank you. Speak to you soon.
Okay. These audios are from almost, about after the case broke a year ago, and I've held on to some of them because Abe and Ella didn't want them released or wanted them edited or whatever, and I have sometimes, against my better judgment, stuck by that, because I told myself I wouldn't do anything that might jeopardize the court hearings, where any possibility of the children being returned to Ella and Abe and the grandparents, anywhere but first off anywhere but the father. Thank God he still hasn't got them, but anywhere but foster care also, given that these children pretty much need to be at home. And whatever the criticisms, and I do have a problem with Abe and Ella still staying out of the country, although maybe I'm naive, maybe they would just be thrown in jail and, framed and what have you. All I can say is if it was my children, I would be back, in or out of jail. I would be hammering the doors to get, how can the children be given back to Ella if she's not in the country, a year later. So, my premise is I've always believed the children. They may have had a joker or two thrown in the pack. It's very common amongst, particularly ritual organised, to throw some jokers in the pack so that the children's credibility is brought into question. But I believe 90% of what the children said was absolutely true. So it's now the 29th of February, a leap year. The children haven't gone back to the father, neither last August when he anticipated, nor February when he boasted on my Twitter, actually, saying can't wait for the children to be returned to their loving father. So, in a state of limbo, I'm just going to go for releasing what I've got uncut and leaving people to judge for themselves. I've got nothing against anybody in particular, although it's hard to say that with regard to those that abused the children horrendously. But I'm just putting this out there. I've kept my word to myself, which was not to do so before the court hearings. And I still pray for the children to come out of the system as it exists. I've been a foster carer, and I know there are some wonderful foster carers, but I also know that social services is heavily infiltrated. none of the other children's were interviewed. You know, nobody but the father was interviewed, if you could even call it that. He was invited in for a friendly chat. None of his equipment was seized. Everybody, well, most people that have been following this know the ins and outs, but yeah, I've kept my word to myself, and I'm releasing now everything I have, and just put it out there. I have to keep praying for the children. Don't get sidetracked into, you know, I would say keep coming back to, are the children telling the truth? Are the children telling the truth? Don't get sidetracked on who did what and where and how, unless they are the alleged abusers, which the IPCC admit. You know, an investigation into the mother's complaint that there was no proper investigation was upheld. So that's another point that's very moot, is when a police force, I think in this case it's the Hampstead Metropolitan Police, when they disregard the IPCC, what powers do the IPCC have to you know, constrain them to reopen the investigation or to do a proper investigation? There's so much on this case, but let's move on to the next one. Here we go. I'll do these probably in half-hour videos, and I'll link them.
Hello?
Oh, I think this was one. Our Skype was heavily interfered with.
Oh!
Now you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you now, yes.
Okay, good. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. It's good to do a little test run. How are you, Ella?
Yeah, all right, thank you. And how are you?
I had a busy morning. I'm moving to Lanzarote, so I had tenants coming and this and that.
So you're moving?
To Lanzarote.
Lanzarote. So you're moving kind of permanently, or?
Well, I think so, yeah. I always said I would stay in Ireland just until my children were educated.
Oh, nice. That's wonderful. It's a lovely place. You've been there before?
I've been there just for a little holiday. I lived in Spain as well, but it was Ben Fellows gave me the idea because the Canaries do not have extradition treaty with England. So
Canary Islands or just Lanzarote?
Said I think it's all the Canary Islands. I can check with Ben, but the reason he went there for 9 months when the Kenneth Clark thing blew up and he was getting harassed was for that.
One second, it's just something not going. I don't even know where it is. Sorry.
Oh, it's so hard every time. No.
So there is the video came up somewhere.
Yeah, but it doesn't it grab. It must hurt your heart every time you hear their voices. You know.
Yeah, it's a little difficult sometimes to listen.
Yeah, and when I listen to the interview with.
I'm still looking at where's this? Huh?
When I listen to your interview with Beyond Belief, you're so brave, because to talk about some of that stuff is just, well, so hard. So
I know.
much.
I know.
Yes.
Well, we have to do it. We have to do it. We have to let people know. And
absolutely. Because people don't understand. If you come all across professional, they think you're cold-hearted. And yet, if you have to go into the pain, it's painful. But, you know, so you did a brilliant job. I thought that interview was fabulous. So well done for that. Yeah. So then, is there anything you want to say before I call you back and then we start recording?
Well, what I was thinking to there was the subject which have been hardly covered, right, so far, which I would like to speak about other children in school, because this is the main reason why we came back, actually, because we knew what we're up against, well, sort of. At that time, I don't think we fully realized, but we had a good idea. and we thought that all these governmental services are not that corrupted, right? So
that's a very good point. And are you going to use their names?
Yes, I will use their names. Why not?
Oh, okay,
I mean, the names were on the internet already. I mean, we don't have any order to mention their names, and also it's quite a lot of information there, and also we can cover this today, but it's also to do with other children, but more from the from a different perspective. For example.
Okay, I lost you there. Internet connection problem. Interesting. Hold on while we try to get the...
Okay, so the move to Lanzarote is still in the pipeline, but Jamie's eyesight is just taking a bit longer than we anticipated to have him be independent. So I did rent my house out for a year, and then I had to move in with a friend round the corner, and then we had to move to Sligo. I've had 49 house moves in my life, and I swear I'm going to stop at 50. But hopefully by the summer, I hope that Jamie's eyesight is sufficiently improved, and that I can base myself in Lanzarote. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Sorry, I'm not an internet wizard by any stretch of the imagination, and I have the utmost admiration for the YouTubers that do such fabulous editing, but that's not me. It's just the bare bones of truth. So let's find the next one. I don't know whether to keep these at an hour or half an hour. Let's have a look. La-di-da, talk amongst yourselves. I've labelled one a hissy fit, but before that one, I'll just give you the background to it. As you can tell, Abe and Ella were very cagey about who to give interviews to and what was going to be discussed, and hours spent sort of pre-interview setting boundaries and guidelines and so on. And I had said to probably Abe, who was acting a bit, I know some people called him Ella's handler, but he was acting a bit protecting her, I think, So I would talk to him about some of the how it was going to be done, and something I said to him was, we'll do a dummy run, we'll do an interview, I'll send it to you, and then when you approve it, I'll put it up. I learned the hard way not to give that amount of freedom to interviewees, because it's a natural backlash when you've been interviewed and you've been vulnerable. You go through a phase of, oh my god, I don't want anybody ever to hear that. So my integrity is that I don't publish anything to bury anybody or to do harm. Kind of the journalistic Hippocratic oath, first do no harm, which sadly is for the most part ignored in the medical field anyway these days. Now let's have a look. Which order does it go in? Let's try this. I'll just have a look and see where we're at on the recording. 19 minutes. Yeah, I'll go to half an hour sections, and I'll put them on a playlist. I think that's because this has got to be done in bite-sized pieces. It's not an easy case to get your head round, no matter how you look at it. So let's go back and see. We've got about 10 minutes. Alright, let's try this, Ella and Angie.
Ella, yeah, we have interruptions, so I just pray you're safe and everything's well. I'm sure you're used to being monitored and hounded, but yes, please carry on. Please carry on. the parents safe,
Well,
and also they were tricked.
yes, yes. In fact, before I'm going to explain a bit more about what happened there, I would like to come back to the conversation about what happens with the other children, and the other children of the cult, right? Who actually the children do not want to be in them, and Elisa and Gabriel were very clear about it. Children do not like it. They do not like sex. They hate violence. They don't like to be injected. And they mention their friends like Millie Cowell and James Upson and Sophie Herlicker. By the way, Sophie, who had been mentioned in the interview, if you recall,
is this Sophie Dick?
Well, they're saying that the idea of plastic wheel has been taken from Sophie's iPad, and also the idea of touching. However, this girl never been questioned and never been investigated. In fact, none of the children been investigated. Not just that. I mean, there are plenty of evidence. For example, children are saying that all the children have tattoos as well as piercing. And there are quite detailed description of that. And again, now none of the children been investigated or questioned ever.
Interviewed, and none of the adults have been investigated, and nobody has presented for examination to see, to either clear their names or to for these marks that the children described and did pictures. Very distinguished remarks. Nobody, you're right, the children haven't been interviewed and the adults haven't been investigated, nor have they presented for examination or for interview.
Exactly. And those children are suffering and still trapped in the cult as we speak. And by the way, you've obviously heard about Leon Britton, right? Who's it's a lot of information about him being involved in this kind of activities. He actually has tattoo as well. I don't know if you heard of it. So I mean, we have to do something about it, and this is the reason we are now doing a lot of the interviews and getting all the information out for people to act and for people to also look around and notice what's going on in their own families around them as well. And now, coming back to your question about what happened with my parents. Yes, they were tricked to come to the UK, and the condition to see children was to go through Judge Puffley's judgment and to agree with this judgment. In other words, to accuse to make sure that my parents are accusing their own daughter, right? So I make sure that none of us will ever have access to the children, right? And of course, my parents were were aware enough, and they could see through their ways, and so they left without seeing children. And in regards we talked about that. We talked about that we are now preparing website as well. It's going to be official website for our case called hampsteadcoverup.com, and we're aiming to publish it towards this weekend. So
tell me the name of it again.
hampsteadcoverup.com.
Cover Up, very good. hampsteadcoverup.com. We look forward to that. Also, for people, there have been 2 or 3 petitions up to 17,000 signatures, but they keep getting interference and taken down. But there's a petition at the moment asking for Judge Puffley to simply honour the residence order that was in place since 2011, because it was wrongly reported that this was a custody battle. There was no custody battle. You had custody since 2011, so We will put a link to the website. It's not here yet, but we will, maybe next week's chat connection, we'll have the website details and the link will be up for you. Also, there's a petition, Justice Anna Poffley, please honour the residence order to the mother since 2011. So we'll put those there as well. Hampstead Research Connection. So whatever anybody can do, this is not just, even though Gabriel and Elisa are obviously Ella's children, there's 18 more children that have been named and given to the police and no action taken. And what I think the point Ella's making is it doesn't even stop there. This is not a little isolated thing in Hampstead. This is something that as we talk each week, we hope that people will educate themselves so that they can just look and see, you know, what's going on at school, in church, in the community. We're just trying to raise awareness for all the children.
Exactly. And also what people could do if they feel like they would like to take some actions. For example, at the moment there is an appeal pending to appeal against Poffley's judgment. And also we made a couple of complaints to IPCC, to independent police, to the police, and also yes, which is internal complaint department of the police. And on top of it, we wrote to the commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Colin Ho, as well as Theresa May. And by the way, we haven't got responses from those authorities at all. They keep quiet. And IPCC, of course, they trying to wiggle out of it. They refer the case back to the police, and we know that the police is corrupted. So that's what people can do. If someone feels like it, they can write to IPCC, to Theresa May, to the Court of Appeal as well, putting them under pressure. For the people to go through, for this case to be reinvestigated properly, to be investigated, in fact, because it wasn't really investigated. And do whatever you can, get active, get proactive. We have to expose and put stop to this crimes. It's just unimaginable crimes what's going on.
Yeah. A society that doesn't protect its children is broken.
Right.
If a society does not protect the most vulnerable, then that society is broken. This is not just one little isolated incident. I was watching the BBC are running a series at the moment about the Metropolitan Police, and Sir Bernard Hogan-High was on talking and telling his policemen to make sure you interact with the public and make sure you are, so I think it's very relevant. We're not saying every policeman is corrupt or every social worker is corrupt or even every judge, but the corruption is there, and we need to expose it, and also it needs to stop. Everybody wants to live in a country where you can report to the police and to Kafkas and to go before legal people, and they will be honourable. So it's not unreasonable what we're asking. So I really, before we finish for this week, and I really appreciate it. I know it's Gabriel's birthday coming up. It's my birthday today. It's Gabriel's birthday in a few days.
Happy birthday.
Would you like, in the vague possibility, see this? What would you say? Of course, you want to say happy birthday to Gabriel. I give it to you, Ella.
Yes, I mean, my children know. My children know that I'm doing everything possible and everything I can to get children back to the family, to me, and for them to be out of the clutches of the cult. However, we realize that we can't do it on our own. We have to get support. I mean, it's only with the help of the public we're going to be able to return children. We fully realize this.
Absolutely.
Oh well, it's been an intense interview, and
thank you for that.
to join in preparation our raw ham soup, and which is as people learn, this is an antidote to the mind control.
Yeah.
And this is what
the commitment that you both have to well-being, the research, the work you do is inspiring.
Sorry, we got disconnected again.
No, I just wanted to say the work you both do in the area of well-being, you've been...
Okay, addressing I'm just winding up this part 1 of Abe and Ella Uncut, addressing the handler accusations against Abe. I'm on the fence about this. He really made an effort to let Ella lead. We were going to do a weekly connection until things changed. But Abe and I ended up falling out, and that's okay. But I know you can tell if you listen that some of the things that Ella says, Abe is possibly gesticulating in the background, don't say that, or don't say that, or whatever. I'd like to think his motive is to protect her, and I don't know. I'm putting this out there for all I know for sure. I do think actually Ella's... You can't. When I listen to those children, there's a good mother in their lives, and there's no denying that, and it hurts my heart actually just listening back. But it's not about analysing Abe and Ella. It's about the children made disclosures of the most serious nature since this interview. As I say, the Independent Police Complaints Commission upheld Ella's complaint, which is a small victory. But the Metropolitan Police, as far as I know, Barnet Police, Camden Police, any of them, have not taken any action, despite having a complaint against them upheld. Do please correct me if I'm wrong. So that's it for this one, and I'll put them all on a playlist. Thanks for listening, and do persevere, even if you listen just in bite-sized pieces. Some of this is, it was hard to sit on this for a year, or my birthday 8 months ago. But I did it because I didn't want to jeopardise any possibility of the children being returned to Ella and, whoever she chose as her family unit, obviously excluding the alleged paedophiles, sodomists, murderers, porn distributors, snuff movie makers, etc., etc. Everything else pales by comparison.